Good morning. Welcome to the Universalist Church. Wow. That was aggressive. There you go. All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Universalist Church, in which love is the spirit. We're glad you are here in the sanctuary, or anywhere in the world, especially those visiting or returning after a time away. I'm Sherri, Englehart-Shea, one of your representatives on our Board of Trustees. If you're a visitor, we hope you'll talk with our welcome team or visit our webpage, www.westhartford.uu.org, to learn more about us. Our guest book or online contact page will help you get onto our electronic mailing list. Our electronic communications are the best way for us to stay connected. We look forward to helping you become a part of the Universalist Church. We're still dealing with the pandemic, though the risk of severe illness is considered low. If you're unvaccinated or would prefer a mask, our ushers have some that we're happy to share. After worship, we'll have fellowship in Fisk Hall and through Zoom. If you need help finding your way to Fisk Hall for our fellowship hour, any member of the church will be happy to guide you. Just look for someone wearing a Universalist Church name tag. You can find the link for Zoom in your weekly news or our Breeze calendar. If you aren't getting the weekly news, please sign up for it on our website. And now, I invite you to take a moment to make your mobile phone silent, turn off your email, put your keyboards away, and settle in for worship.
This weekend is filled with interesting happenings. It is Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. It is National Coming Out Day weekend. It is a weekend in which many people have taken their 3 days and decided to disappear and go elsewhere, to just catch a little bit of a break. And for all of those reasons, and many, many more, I am glad that you are here today with one another and with me. We're focusing our time and energy today on National Coming Out Day, and the history a little bit of what it means to be out in the world. We will attend to Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day when we talk about our 7 deadly sins later this month, and in particular, we'll be talking about greed. In the meantime, we light the chalice today as a reminder of the brilliance we each carry in the chalices of our own hearts and the hearts of every person. Within each of us is a flame, a light dancing boldly, capable of illuminating the world if we can just let it shine through our lives. In our communities of faith, we remind one another that to live fully is a spiritual practice, a spiritual imperative, a religious act, a way to show love for the goodness of life. And so here may we be inspired and find delight and determination with one another together. Our opening hymn is number 112 in the gray hymnal. Number 112, please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together. Let's join in speaking the words of our affirmation, our covenant. It is printed in your order of service, or it's in the description online. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
As we resume familiar habits that keep all of us safe and happy during church school, I want to remind us that children should remain in their classrooms with their teachers until parents arrive at the classroom to pick them up after worship. The pre-KK classroom is down the hall, room 125, and grades 1 through 5 are downstairs in the multipurpose room. Some good news. Our morning education programs are growing, and we have an immediate need for volunteers. The other good news is that volunteers rotate in and out of service on about a monthly basis, and there are opportunities for even shorter commitments. We are particularly interested in inviting folks to teach in our rotation who aren't parents of children in the morning programs. If you're interested, and I know you are, I will be in Fisk Hall after worship, or you can reach me at the church Tuesday through Friday. I would like to share a poem with you, and arising out of this poem are some interesting pictures. And I think that the pictures come into fuller manifestation if you close your eyes. So I just invite you to do so. I own a field of grass. What a beauty it is. There's lots of black soil to settle hands in. When I water my field of grass, it grows. I love laying on it. I share in the sunlight. I glow. My field of grass makes me feel free. I am a friend to my field of grass until I forget its beauty. I look around at the other fields. Their grass goes straight up. My field's grass moves with the wind. I change the texture of my field. I want it to look like all the rest. I take a tractor to try to train my field of grass. It changes for a little, then it goes back to its original form. I try clipping my field of grass. It only brings out the texture even more. What am I to do? My field of grass is not working with me. The battle between me and my field of grass goes on for years. Finally, one day, I give up. I no longer try to change my field of grass. I look after it instead. I put water on my field of grass. I trim it, I clean it, I love it. You have a field of grass that is one of a kind too. I am talking about the field of grass in your head. Dear child, the field in your head is a crown shining bright. Do not believe what you are told. Be bold. Believe in yourself. My field of grass makes waves. What does your field of grass do? Whatever it is, own every part of it. Shine on with the heart you possess. Your field of grass is what makes you special. Smile and do your best. Never settle for anything less.
Welcome back to the room. And now we will sing our children and their teachers to their classrooms. We're going to use number 413 in the gray hymnal. It's number 413. It's called Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Any children that remain in the room are welcome to stay here, and if at some point you think, actually I would love to go join the others, you are welcome to do that at any point along the way too. We are now in the time of our stewardship campaign, that moment when we all look at how we're going to commit to supporting this congregation in the year to come. Our giving here among us provides the great majority of the financial support for the church, meeting our staffing needs, maintaining our building, and creating the programs, outreach, and social action work that we cherish. So for the month of October, as we're in our stewardship time, we're going to be hearing from members of the congregation about how this community has changed their lives and how that's influenced their commitment to supporting this religious and spiritual home. And today we hear from Lori Strom.
Thanks, Adam. Good morning. So my spiritual journey has been pretty winding road. I was one of those kids who questioned everything, and you can imagine how that went in Sunday school. And that kind of continued through being a teenager, so I did what any reasonable teenager would do. I went online for the answers. And there was a quiz, and I kid you not, it was called Belief-O-Matic, and I came out 100% UU. And I was like, I'd never heard of Unitarian Universalism. But when I started diving in, the principles really resonated with me. And over time, I found several communities. And fast forward to December 2011, when I moved here to Connecticut from Southern California. And took me, it was probably about 5 years living here. My son was like 8 at the time, and we were looking for a new home. So we planned to visit several local churches. This was the first one. And actually we're sitting kind of right over on that side. And we're here, just visiting. And during the service, my son, and he's 8, like now you'll see him 13 running around with all the boys. He looks up to me and he's like, "Mom, this feels like home." And it just was, like a moment where we did feel really connected. It did take a while to kind of dive in a little bit deeper. A huge turning point for us was when we joined the family small group and really strengthen our ties to the community. And it was, joining religious education in all these different ways that we've been showing up in the community here. My giving journey was very much the same. It was give a little bit here and there, like during offering. And especially as a single parent, it did take me a few years to really commit to giving and commit in the form of a pledge. And I think a big turning point for me too there was realizing not only that my support is helping this community and really strengthening our ties, but it's all the things that we do in the community. It's the broader ripple effects with the Green Sanctuary and Connections team and the now multi-generational education and learning. And all those things are why I've continued to really increase my giving over the last few years. So if you're like me and one of those people who had never, wasn't ready to commit to pledging, maybe this is the year that you think about, how is this church community impacting you? Whether you're someone who just shows up on a Sunday here and there for, energizing and connection to a community, or someone who's, been around for a long time. I know our support really means a lot, and together we can really raise our impact, not only together, but in the broader world. And that's why this year's campaign means so much to me, just the open doors and open hearts. And I hope that you'll take a few minutes to really consider what this community means to you and open your heart and consider making a pledge. Thank you.
In addition to pledging, we do take an offering each Sunday morning, and part of the reason we still do this is because we share our offering each Sunday, half and half. Half of it goes to support the congregation, but the other half goes out into the world. Each month we choose a different organization that helps create what we call the beloved community, a community of people and organizations and institutions that make this world a place that we want to live in. So we donate to organizations that share our values. And this month, we are sharing our plate with Q+. Q+ is actually an organization that we are incubating here in our church. They started out and did not have a lot of resources, so we have given them an office space to use for work and storage. We provide spaces for them to use for their programming. And this is important because their programming supports queer youth of all sorts, through meetings and gatherings. The youth in Q+ determine their own programming. They tell the adults what it is that they need, and then the adults help provide it for them. It fills in some of the gaps that were left by other organizations that have closed or faded away over time. And so we are happy to support Q+, both with space, but also this month with a portion of our offering. To give electronically, you can use the QR codes on your order of service or the links on our website. But here in the sanctuary, our offering will now be gratefully received. May these gifts sustain the work that we do together, the life of this congregation, and also make a difference in the world of which we are most certainly a part. Thank you. Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit as we speak our congregational reading. It's number 598 in the back of the gray hymnal. Number 598, called Without Hate. I'll read the words in Roman type, and then we'll all respond with the words in italics together. May every creature abound in well-being and peace. Every living being, weak or strong, the long and the small, the short and the medium-sized, the mean and the great. May every living being, seen or unseen, those dwelling far off, those living nearby, those already born, those waiting to be born, may all attain inward peace. Let no one deceive another. Let no one despise another in any situation. Let no one, from antipathy or hatred, wish evil to anyone at all. Just as a mother with her own life protects her only child from hurt, so within yourself foster a limitless concern for every living creature. Display a heart of boundless love for all the world in all its height and depth and broad extent. Love unrestrained, without hate or enmity. Then, as you stand or walk, sit or lie, until overcome by drowsiness, devote your mind entirely to this. It is known as living the life divine. Let's join in singing our Doxology. It's in your order of service.
Praise God for love we all may share. Praise God for beauty everywhere. Praise God for hope of good to be.
seated. In today's time of prayer and meditation, I have a number of things to share with you on behalf of the community. Betty P., Ann B.'s wife, fell on Saturday and broke her leg. She has had a successful surgery and is now in rehab to get back on her feet. Hopefully that will happen very, very quickly. I think you can reach out to Ann pretty easily to wish Betty well and, of course, to offer Ann your support too. And if there are any cards to be given, Ann will be able to make sure that they get to where they're going. Ann, would you like to just wave so that people know who you are? Terrific. Thank you so much. Sophie E. continues to recover from her injuries, and while she has a ways to go before she's going to be up and out and about, she is in good spirits. I had the good fortune to visit with her last Sunday afternoon. She is looking forward to connecting with visitors so long as they let her know that they're on the way first. And I know that she is glad to be connecting with us here so that she gets the care and supports that she needs from us, but also in the new rehab facility where she's staying. And recently I told you about a number of weddings of children of the church. I have one more to add to that. Last Saturday, not yesterday, but the week before, Tim W., John and Nan's son, married his love, Emmanuel, or Manny, in their backyard. And so I am so happy for Tim and Manny and John and Nan, of course, as well. Please feel free to offer them your congratulations and your best wishes. And now, I would like to invite you into a time of stillness and meditation and prayer. We pray with words adapted from Mary Edie's. If God is your strength and your companion, and prayer means the centering of your thoughts, there is room for you here. If the teachings of the Buddha give you clarity and calm in the midst of our striving, there is room for you here. If the earth's seasonal rhythms lead you best through the myriad steps of life's great dance, there is room for you here. If the still mysterious capacity and power of the mind stirs your imagination and quickens your pulse, there is room for you here. And if you are still seeking that which gives you life and hope, if you have not heard your connection named yet, if you are ready to boldly explore or heal or be comforted, there is room for you here. And so in whatever way you connect, in whatever form your heart is given life, in whatever way your pulse quickens and your spirit calms, I invite you into a time of stillness for the prayers of your own hearts. In this place, there is room for you to rest now beside that wisdom, that spring of life, that source of meaning and love, wherever and whatever it is for you. Allow your attention to go to the small places inside or far out into the great wide world, the places or people that need healing, that are celebrating their love, that are changing the world. And may all our hearts be filled with thanksgiving. May it be so. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Our first reading is from James Broughton, poet and filmmaker, on the subject of gaiety of soul from the book Gay Soul. My spiritual practice begins each day with a meditation on the glory of God, the wonders of creation, and the delicious absurdities of the world. I like to laugh with God at its universe, connect with everything that is going on, big and small. This is to acknowledge the Almighty's instinctive gaiety. Though my solemn family tried to make me take life seriously, I came into the world an irrepressibly cheerful poet. My guardian angel blessed my merriment, urged me to believe in the unbelievable, worship wonder, and celebrate life. He told me always to heed my own soul. This has meant combating dogmas, alienation, and ridicule. But it has also toughened my gaiety. Gaiety has no gender barriers. Isn't joyfulness available to all sexes and genders? I would plead for loving friendship. To be a lover is to practice the major art of life. You must love even if it hurts. It will hurt more if you don't love. When love makes the heart sing, nothing exists but courage and trust and the delights of fruitful action. Then you have gaiety of soul. Our second reading is from We Were Made for These Times by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world now. Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to civilized, visionary people. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send up flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do.
I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I want to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. I am what I am. I don't want praise, I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise, I think it's pretty. And so what if I love each feather and each bangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle? Your life is a sham till you can shout out loud, I am what I am. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I deal my own deck, sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life and there's no return and no deposit. One life, so it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am.
Even if I hadn't told you earlier that the 11th is coming out day, you would have known from that song alone. But I will tell you, when I was a newly out gay, many long years ago, I always found the idea of a national coming out day to be a little weird. Because it didn't seem to me that coming out happened on a schedule. I wasn't looking at the calendar saying, all right, October 11th, that's mine. That is my day. Instead, coming out for me was a series of conversations with people that I knew, a trusted few at first, and then more and more people as I grew more and more confident. And it was based on an internal pressure that I could no longer deny. The moment that I see as my real coming out was the day when I called my parents. It was definitely not in October. I think it was closer to early November. And I remember that because I called to say, I'm gay. Can I come home for Thanksgiving? It wasn't that I didn't know that my parents loved me. I knew that very, very deeply. But I live in a world, and certainly those decades ago, where that sort of declaration could have meant anything. And Even my parents loving me didn't feel like it was enough to know that it was going to be okay. And so when I talked to my parents, they were like, "What's wrong with you? Of course you can come home for Thanksgiving." And I said, "Okay, but if I meet somebody eventually, can I bring them home for Thanksgiving too?" My parents were like, "Well, yeah, but maybe let's not think about that yet. Like, let's just have you come home for this Thanksgiving." They were right. But those decades ago, 30 years ago, if my math is right, I didn't know if that was going to be enough. And when I told them, when that pressure inside of me said, I have to tell people who I really am, I cannot pretend that I'm not me anymore, that was when I really came out. Now, it may be that some people, maybe even some of you, are in fact ready on a calendar-type schedule, and that October 11th was in fact your day. But to me, this idea of coming out always feels much more like an egg trying to figure out when to hatch. Or a leaf in the spring, just figuring out when it's the right moment, the right temperature, the right light, to start to unfurl. The moment when a monarch finally breaks that chrysalis open and pumps its wings full of blood and life. Ideally, coming out happens when everything is lining up in just the way it should, for a person to have support that they need. The inner reserves of strength and courage, determination and desire. In a lot of ways, that's what happened to me. I had enough knowledge that I was supported by friends and family to be bold enough to dare to tell that truth. And I had enough push inside of me that meant that I had no choice but to say, I am who I am. But sometimes coming out happens on accident, or before someone is truly ready, because somebody said something that they shouldn't have, or perhaps even have known. And that gets put out into the world before someone is ready to deal with it themselves. And this, I think, is why coming out day actually matters. Not because it's the moment, the schedule when we say, all right, here's this year's crop of queers coming out of the closet. We are bursting out of our cocoons. But rather because we all of us, need to understand what coming out is. So when it happens, when the people around us say, hey, this is me, we're all able to better support them and love them and care for them and know just what a challenge it can be to come out, even if all of the things are exactly right, lined up exactly how they should be. Coming out is something that requires support. It requires communities to hold people tenderly and with great care. It requires all of us to understand that this is a key moment in the life of anyone who is ready to share who they are with a world that isn't necessarily quite ready for that, and it's not always easy. So when Patricia pulled out this poem meditation that she shared with us and said to me, I think this is what I want to offer on Sunday, I realized that this was a great metaphor for recognizing within oneself who one is and then figuring out how to share that in a world where there are all sorts of other people trying to figure out themselves too. And so there were 3 ideas that I grabbed from that. Believe, be bold, shine on. So the first thing is that you have to believe in yourself, in the goodness of creation, in the possibility that life can be bigger and fuller and more wonderful than it is right now. There's a reason we had the It Gets Better campaign, to help people believe that things get better, that the world is full of possibilities, and that we can find them. Now, when I was 18, 19 years old, as this was starting to happen for me, I didn't have a lot of gay elders that I could turn to. This was during the time where so many people had died of AIDS. And I didn't have a lot of folks who had been around 10 or 20 years more than me that I could turn to and say, hey, how did this work? What's this like? What do I need to know? But there was a wonderful book that I found called Gay Soul. It was 16 interviews with gay elders, and it became my mentoring guide. It became that collection of stories that helped me imagine what my life might possibly be. And I loved this passage from James Broughton. My spiritual practice begins each day with a meditation on the glory of God, the wonders of creation, and the delicious absurdities of the world. I like to laugh with God at its universe, connect with everything that's going on, big and small, because this acknowledges the Almighty's instinctive gaiety. Though my solemn family tried to make me take life seriously, I came into the world an irrepressibly cheerful poet. He talks about the things that were not easy, and then simply acknowledges that they have toughened his gaiety, made him more determined to enjoy, to be cheerful, to love. I was so grateful for that message, and I continue to be grateful for that message, because now I, God love me, have become a gay elder. I turned 50 this year. If you aren't a gay elder at the age of 50, I don't know when you are. And I have had to toughen my gaiety and allow my irrepressible cheerfulness to come out as well. One of the things that I've learned is that we have to believe that there are people who will love us for who we truly are, no matter who we are, queer, straight, no matter what we do, no matter how we live, we each have to believe that there are people who will love us for who we truly are, and that we can find them if we don't have them in our lives already. We have to believe that who and what we are is worthy of being known. And if we're not the ones coming out, we have to know that it is our task to make it possible for others to do so. We have to make sure that people know that they will find us to be kind and loving and safe. And even if we're not quite fully on board with everything in the world because we don't know it all yet and we haven't explored it all yet, we have to be willing to be open to what is possible, to learning something new and more than we've known before. And in that moment, then we can be bold. If we are the ones coming out, it requires boldness. But it doesn't mean that you have to come out about everything all at once. I had multiple conversations with people telling them about how I wanted to be seen and known. And that's happened multiple times in my life. Yes, when I came out as gay, but also when I started telling people I was going to become a UU minister. It was conversation after conversation with people who knew me in so many other ways and looked at me when I said this at first and said, "You're going to do what?" And then after about 15 seconds, pretty much all of them went, oh, no, that actually makes sense. Sometimes the people who know us even better than we realize that they do. But I had to be bold. I had to be willing to share, and I had to decide how much I wanted to share, and with whom, and when, so that it was safe for me to do so. But what I have learned is that it is better to be able to share who you are than to keep it hidden. Sometimes we protect tender parts of ourselves that are not ready to be out in the world. And that's fine. Whether it's about sexuality and gender, or about the possibility of, divorce, or a job change, or a health issue, there are all sorts of reasons that we don't share everything all at once. Sometimes we just put things out on Facebook or social media or send out an email to everyone we know, put it in the Christmas letter. But often, with these things that are tender, we share them little by little, one by one, in conversations with people that we trust. And that too is being bold. And sometimes, when that little by little starts to feel like a shell that is hard and limiting, sometimes we just need to break it wide open. If you've ever gotten an email from me, I suspect you've seen the quote from Anais Nin that I use at the bottom of my signature. And the day came, she writes, when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who resonates with that quote. Think about the times when you've felt that. When that sense of being held and small and careful felt intolerable and painful. When your life felt like an old pair of too tight shoes that you could not wait to get off of your feet. In those moments, we must be bold. Bold enough to unlace those shoes. Bold enough to push at the bud so that it might open, to peck at the shell so that the egg might crack, to acknowledge to someone, even if only to yourself, that something is other than what it has always appeared to be. And in that moment, when things break open, that is when we shine on. Clarissa Pinkola Estes writes, one of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to rise up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold. The light of the soul throws sparks, sends up flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. Coming out doesn't happen just once. Anybody who's done it knows that it happens again and again and again. Telling my parents was a big coming out moment. But I come out every time I have to correct someone who I haven't met yet who asks me about my wife. Which shocks me, to be honest, because looking at me, I wouldn't think that that's the first thing that would appear to you. But there it is. I also find myself coming out every time I tell somebody that I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, on an airplane, for example. And sometimes I choose not to. Sometimes I tell people, oh, I run a small nonprofit. Make it sound as boring as possible, because I don't necessarily want to have that conversation every time in every place. And the truth is, I do that too about being gay. Sometimes I just don't feel like having that conversation. But that's all right. There are times when I know that I must shine on. When I tell people the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And then I find that there are still things that I come out about now as I have gotten older. Whenever I realize that my life somehow feels too small for me, I find a new thing that opens it up, that gives me some space. I come out as somebody who is doing a second doctoral degree because it's silly and who needs two, but it's the thing that I felt compelled toward. There was something so deep within me that needed to learn that I had to go back. If I ever feel like I'm putting on a mask that makes me sad, I have to think about, what is it that actually wants to be known? How will that part of me come out once again? And when I do that, I discover that there is possibility available to me that I hadn't found before, that I am more comfortable in my own skin, that my life feels more free, more honest, more relaxed. It doesn't always mean easier, but it almost always means more joyful and more loving. James Broughton taught me, gaiety has no gender barriers. Isn't joyfulness available to all? I plead for loving friendship. To be a lover is to practice a major art of life. You must love even if it hurts, because it will hurt more if you do not love. When love makes the heart sing, nothing exists but courage and trust and the delights of fruitful action. And then you have gaiety of soul. I hope, no matter what orientation you have, that you have found within yourself some gaiety of soul. And that if you haven't found it yet, that you can learn it. That you can look at some of us who, whether we want to show it or not, do. That your irrepressible, cheerful poet or gardener or lover might show up in your life and in the lives of all of those around you. My hope is that you will have the courage to come out in whatever ways you need to, in whatever ways break you open to love as you are believing and bold and shining on. May it be so. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 1015 in the blue hymnal. Number 1015, it's called I Know I Can. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. My sorrow heals my soul, and burdens weigh me strong. Though troubles wait at every turn, can go on. My sister in my heart, my brother in my soul. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. No journey is long, the destination is near. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can.
Let us speak together our unison benediction. It's in your order of service and in the description online. Engage with the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please be seated and remain for our postlude.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Oh, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me, stand by me. When the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, and the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry.